So Pavlov is a very, very interesting game because it is actually extremely realistic. One of the things you may not have realized about Pavlov is that it's basically a combat simulator. I mean, it is pretty one for one. It is as close to one for one, in my opinion, that you can get without going into the real deal here, okay? Without actually physically handling the actual weapons themselves. This is as close as you can get. It's really impressive how crazy this game truly is. And so after playing it a little bit for the first time, I made a whole video on that. If you missed that, check it out. I think a lot of you guys have already. I had a lot of fun with it, but in that recording session, I learned a lot of stuff. And then I played a few games off camera after as well. And I learned a few different things that I thought were very interesting. Now, this may not be everything, but this is just a few things for now. Maybe we can make a video in the future if there's more things that get added to this list. But there's a few things that I noticed that you may not realize about Pavlov that you can actually do, or just different things about the game specifically. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't. So we're going to jump into this. If you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like. If you don't like it, completely fine as well. Let me know why, so I can improve the content in the future. And be sure to subscribe if you guys want to stick around for content, because the majority of you guys that watch the videos are not actually subscribed. So if you don't want to miss future videos, make sure you guys stick around for more. All right, you guys ready? Let's jump into this. So let's state the obvious. Pavlov is in VR. I've personally been playing it on PSVR2, which is my very first VR experience, and I just love the PSVR2, and I love Pavlov because, like I said, it is very, very realistic. But one of the things that I was very intrigued about was the fact that when you aim a weapon, you have to actually physically feel like you're pulling it up to your face. Now, obviously, you're not holding a real weapon up to your face, but you basically use the controllers to make it, simulate basically that you're pulling the weapon up to your face and that you're looking down the scope, right, with the headset on, and how you're moving your head with the gun, and you're looking down the sights. Now that's great for the iron sights, right? And it actually works. So if you have like the little kind of, the way iron sights work for most guns, at least for the ARs, is on the closer end of the weapon, there's kind of like a metal thing sticking up with a hole. I'm not sure what it's actually called. Sorry, I don't know. And then on the other end, there's kind of like another little metal thing with kind of like a little line that kind of helps you kind of line them up. Anyways, that kind of helps you line your scope up, right? Your kind of the weapon and how it's tilting, right? And so when you pull the weapon up to your face, it's like you're actually looking down that iron sight. Now, what's more interesting about that is this works with scopes. Now, obviously, if you played games like Call of Duty and any kind of really FPS game that has a scope to look down, you typically hold down the L2 button, you pull the scope up to your face, and automatically looks down, kind of like a little animation or transition between animations. But the way this works is, because everything's in VR, you're actually physically holding the scope up in front of your face, and you're looking down the scope as if it was in real life, right? If you have a weapon like this in real life that has a scope, right, whether it's like an acog or a red dot, or maybe like an actual scope that, like on a sniper, if you're looking down this thing, right, you're actually, you have to aim it, and you have to actually position your face to look down the scope. The game works the exact same way. It is truly spectacular. So you actually hold it up, and if it's a scope, so obviously it's gonna have a zoom kind of look to it, then you're actually gonna see that, but you're still gonna see everything in your peripheral as well. So you got to pull that scope, close enough where you can have a good vision inside of it, and it's just nuts. It really blew my mind. Now, this is something that I think probably everybody knows, but I wanted to get it out of the way because that was one thing that I thought was really cool. But anyways, we got other things to talk about. Let's move on. So the other thing that was actually causing me some trouble was I would get used to one gun, right? So how the gun functions, right? Every gun has different ways that it functions, right? We have, like, for example, some guns that are kind of more bolt action. We have guns that, have more of a magazine. Other guns, work very in a variety of different ways, right? Some guns have a toggle between semi-automatic, which would just, and fully automatic. So semi-automatic would shoot, single shots, right? So you got to pull the trigger each time, bang, 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 bang. And then, fully automatic would be like, if you're just holding the trigger and it's just like tat, 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 tat kind of thing, right? Yes, I make sound effects. So some guns can actually switch between that. But the way you reload every different gun is different, right? Now, some shotguns reload in different ways as well, for example, and everything's just completely different. So, especially, if you take a handgun, right? You got something like a revolver, well, you got to load that in a different way. And so the way the guns work and function and reload in Pavlov functions just like their real life counterparts, which is really cool. So again, you might know how to perfectly reload one certain gun, right? Whether it's an AR or a pistol or an SMG, but then you switch over to a different weapon. It might even be in the same class of weapons. It might be another SMG or another pistol or whatever else. And suddenly you might be fiddling around this thing like, oh, okay, how do I do this? How do I reload this one, right? How do I rack the slide on this one? Because I don't really know what I'm doing with this particular weapon because it functions a little bit differently. So the learning curve is interesting because you've got to learn how each weapon functions. And honestly, like I said, when it comes to the simulation process, because these guns seem so similar to the real life counterparts, obviously I haven't handled all these guns in real life, but you get, what I'm trying to say in terms of, the close thing you can get in video games. You got to really learn how these work. And I would assume that if you learn how these guns function in Pavlov, you can probably understand the real life counterpart. If you were to pick one up, you'd be like, okay, I know how this thing functions now. So it really is interesting that it can almost maybe in a very vague sense be somewhat of a training tool. Like I said, I say vague because you're not really holding the weapon, you're not feeling the kick of the weapon. So again, very vaguely, but still getting the mechanics and the idea of how these different, weapons function and stuff. It's just cool. It's really cool. And I had a lot of fun kind of figuring out, different weapons. And I still don't know how all of them work. And sometimes when you're in the middle of a fight, you're like, oh shoot, I have no idea how this weapon works. I better learn it because I'll be dead if I don't. So this one can almost be like, I guess, a sub point to the last thing that we were talking about in terms of how each gun functions, but that's how each gun handles. Okay, so it kind of fits the same category, but what I mean by that is each gun handles differently, right? So I can go around one-handing a pistol. I can shoot that pistol, no problem, right? Easy. Doesn't have a lot of kick. I'm good to go. What I realized, and I didn't realize this, what I was doing wrong in the moment, but you actually probably seen it in my first video, if you guys seen it, but you may have not noticed what I was doing. What happened is I was sniping. I had a sniper and I was sniping, and what I forgot to do is grab the sniper with my left hand. So I'm right-handed dominant, so I'm holding the trigger with my right hand, and then I'm supposed to support the gun with my left hand. And what I didn't realize, I didn't have that left hand on it, right? I didn't click the button, so it wasn't on it. So I was one-handing my sniper. I shot that thing, and it had so much kick that sniper went flying out of my hands like it would in real life. Actually, in real life, it'd probably snap your arm, but that's a whole different kind of topic. It didn't do that. It wasn't that realistic, although I think that would be kind of funny if they did that, where it's like if you one-hand a sniper, it just snaps your arm, and it's like you can't use that arm until you respawn or something. That'd be pretty crazy. But the fact is that it was so realistic that because I wasn't supporting the gun went flying, and it took me a couple times to figure out, like, okay, I picked up the gun, did it again, messed up again, and I started realizing, oh, wait a minute, my supporting hand's not on the gun. So I think just the way the guns handle, like I said, very realistic. You got a gun with a lot of kick, you better be holding it with that support hand, or that gun's gonna go flying and you're gonna be left without a weapon. I mean, I guess you got like your grenade if you have one, if you have a grenade, or your knife, which again, really puts you at a disadvantage, let's be honest. So if you played games like Call of Duty, you know that one of the things that is so common in that game is something called drop shotting. When you just drop to the ground and you shoot someone and they don't have any time to react because they're aiming up here, and then all of a sudden you're on the ground and they got to look down to aim at you, and boom, they're dead by the time they do. Well, obviously you can't just drop shot in this game, not like that. You can and you can't. There is a way to do it, but it takes some serious physicality. So if you want to crouch, or if you want to go prone in the game, right? These are two different things, but we're talking about the same category. There's no button to push. You don't push any button. You don't move the stick down. You don't do anything. The thing is that it's all in the motion, right? It's all in the headset. The headset knows that you're standing. The game typically has to be played standing up. I mean, I guess you could try sitting down, but you're going to be a lot lower. It's going to be as if you're crouching all the time. And that's the thing. If you crouch in real life, your character will crouch in the game. In my first video of Pavlov, I actually ended up figuring that out, where I was on the map Bridge. If you guys have played the game, you know it. And there's a bunch of sandbags, right? Especially kind of like going towards the mid of the bridge. And I was kind of making my way towards the bridge. I was trying to, make sure I wasn't getting killed because there was a guy on top of the bridge. And anyways, there was just a bunch of crazy stuff. And so I'm like, you know what? I got to get low. How do I get low? And I crouched in real life, and I realized, wait a minute, my character's crouching. Now I'm like really low. I'm like ducking behind the sandbag. So I started catching on that, hey, if I gotta like reload my gun real quick and I don't want to get, you know, smoked in the head or something, I gotta crouch down behind the sandbag. In real life though, I gotta get on my floor as if I'm doing this like I'm in it. I'm in this war here, man. I'm on my floor trying to, you know, tuck my head behind the sandbag so they don't see my head and shoot me while I reload my gun or whatever else. And then what I realized is if you just peek up a little bit, you can just kind of peek over the sandbag and, you know, kind of do that. And the other side of it is if you want to go prone, you actually have to lay down on your floor. And I'm not even kidding you with that. You got to actually lay down on your floor if you want to go prone in the game, which is just, it's just hilarious. And it's just so more realistic. And it really, look, a lot of people love FPS games. A lot of people grew up in them, right? A lot of people played tons of Call of Duty, tons of other kind of games, Battlefield and, you know, Medal of Honor back in the day and whatever else, right? And so to add that sense of realism, like that extra level of realism where you like physically got to crouch and go prone, is just really cool. And it's just hilarious to me. So I thought that was very interesting. And you may not have known that. I think a lot of people didn't. There was a couple games where I was crouching and I actually heard some people laughing because they realized, yo, he's crouching. That means he's doing it in real life. And they started catching on to that too. So it's a lot of fun. And it's just, I think that's a really cool little touch. All right, so this one's really cool. This one I seen on Twitter before I actually bought the game. And I was already sold on the game, but this just like threw it over the edge for me. I was like, this is nuts. And I tried to do this in my own gameplay, and you guys might have seen that. But the thing is, I fumbled it super hard. The guy that I tried to do it to even said, bro, you fumbled hard on that one. Ha, sucker. Oh, no, I tried.
Really fumbled that one.
Bro. Dude's like, you really fumbled that one. And yes, I did. I really did. It was pretty pitiful. But what you can actually do is you can mess with your enemies. You can walk up to the enemy and you can eject their mag. You can go and reach over and grab the magazine out of their gun and then, you know, completely just mess them up in that sense, right? They got no bullets to shoot you with. Well, unless they have one in the chamber. Always keep that in mind. Unless you're able to eject their mag and rack their slide, that would be really impressive. And then they have like nothing. They have nothing to shoot you with. But you can actually do that. And I tried to do that. Like I said, I fumbled miserably, but I seen a clip on Twitter that was so impressive because this kid snuck up on this guy. He even trolled him. He started waving his hand in front of the guy's head. And he ejected the guy's mag and it just boom, popped him in the head with his pistol. And it was just amazing, hilarious. So just levels of realism of this game, the things you can do, it not only adds a lot more fun and realism, but even on the content side of things, the things you can just try to do to just mess with people and pull off these crazy kind of different, you know, I guess, feats, for lack of a better word. It's just really cool. So I thought that was hilarious. I messed it up. I'm going to keep trying to do better with it. But to see someone actually successfully pull that off, I knew I had to try it myself. I fumbled the first time. I'll get it one day. It'll be pretty epic. Well, those are just a few things that you may not have known about Pavlov, and I think they're really cool things. Like I said, maybe you knew all of that, maybe you only knew a couple, maybe you knew none of it. I wanted to make this video because I thought it was really cool to see and just experience that for myself. Maybe you're on the fence, hey, should I get this game? And honestly, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of things lacking. There's no like progression system or leveling system, but it doesn't really matter as of right now. I think the game is probably still in beta if I recall correctly, but either way, it's a lot of fun to be had. It's not a full priced game anyways, so you might as well pick it up, have a lot of fun with it, try to eject other people's mags, try to mess with them, try to all the different stuff you can do, and you know, kind of crawl on the floor, if you will, going prone, whatever, man. It's a lot of fun, and it's just the coolest, you know, most realistic FPS game I've ever played. So let me know in the comments, did you know about all these things? Did you learn anything new? What do you think about these things that we talked about here in this video? I'll see you guys soon in another one. Again, stick around if you guys enjoy this one for more content. We do variety content here on the channel, and I hope to see you guys soon in another one. Until then, game on. See you guys later.